Hey, hi, how you doing? This is Matt with So Cincy and the Bible Department Podcast. We are at episode 55, I think. We're going to be in Luke 6 today. We're just going to jump right into it. If you want to follow along with us, you can go to 5-Day Bible Reading Plan. Nope, 5daybiblereading.com. Pick up their plan. You can follow along. They read through the entire Bible, Old Testament and New Testament combined over the course of 5 days each week. Or you can just do the New Testament like we're doing, because we're going to do the Old Testament next year for the next set of episodes. And then we're going to repeat the process back and forth and back and forth. Well, I don't know. I don't know if we'll go back and forth by that time. We probably won't do it again, but who knows? Anyways, that is that. So let's go ahead and jump into it. We're going to be, like I said, we're going to be in Luke 6 reading through. And, yeah, sounds good. So let's go ahead and get started. All right. A discussion about the Sabbath. That's what the title is. I always like these little Bible titles because they're fun. It breaks up the sections. It's nice. Was it in the original? Nope. But it's here now, and I like it. So, one Sabbath day, as Jesus was walking through some grain fields, his disciples broke off heads of grain, rubbed off the husks in their hands, and ate the grain. But some Pharisees said, "Why are you breaking the law by harvesting grain on the Sabbath?" Jesus replied, Haven't you heard read in the scriptures what David did when he and his companions were hungry? He went into the house of God and broke the law by eating the sacred loaves of bread that only the priest can eat. He also gave some to his companions. And Jesus added, "The Son of Man is Lord, even over the Sabbath." On another Sabbath day, a man with a deformed right hand was in the synagogue while Jesus was teaching. The teachers of religious law and the Pharisees watched Jesus closely. If he healed the man's hand, they planned to accuse him of working on the Sabbath. But Jesus knew their thoughts. He said to the man with the deformed hand, "Come and stand in front of everyone." So the man came forward. Then Jesus said to his critics, "I have a question for you. Does the law permit good deeds on the Sabbath, or is it a day for doing evil? Is this a day to save life or to destroy it?" He looked around at them one by one and then said to the man, "Hold out your hand." So the man held out his hand, and it was restored. At this, the enemies of Jesus were wild with rage and began to discuss what to do with him. One day soon afterward, Jesus went up on a mountain to pray, and he prayed to God all night. At daybreak, he called together all of his disciples and chose 12 of them to be apostles. Here are their names: Simon, whom he named Peter; Andrew, Peter's brother; James, John, Philip, Bartholomew, Matthew, Thomas, James, son of Alphaeus; Simon, who was called the Zealot; Judas, son of James; Judas Iscariot, who, plot twist, or spoiler alert, later betrayed him. When they came down from the mountain, the disciples stood with Jesus on a large level area. Surrounded by many of his followers and by the crowds, there were people from all over Judea and from Jerusalem, and from as far north as the sea coasts of Tyre and Sidon. They had come to hear him and be healed of their diseases, and those troubled by evil. And those troubled by evil spirits were healed. I'm sorry, y'all. I can't really see that well. My eyes are not working this morning. Let's make this a little bit bigger for me so I can read. Okay, there we go. All right. Everyone tried to touch him because healing power went out from him, and he healed everyone. Then Jesus turned to his disciples and said, "God blesses you who are poor, for the kingdom of God is yours. God blesses you who are hungry now, for you will be satisfied. God blesses you who weep now, for in due time you will laugh. What blessings await you when people hate you and exclude you and mock you and curse you as evil because you follow the Son of Man. When that happens, be happy. Yes, leap for joy. For a great reward awaits you in heaven. And remember, their ancestors treated the ancient prophets that same way. What sorrow awaits you who are rich, for you have your only happiness now. What sorrow awaits for you who are fat and I'm not fat. What sorrow awaits for you? What sorrow awaits you who are fat and prosperous now? For a time of awful hunger awaits you. What sorrow awaits you who laugh now? For your laughing will turn to mourning and sorrow. What sorrow awaits you who are praised by the crowds? For their ancestors also praised false prophets. But to you who are willing to listen, I say, love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who hurt you. If someone slaps you on one cheek, offer the other cheek also. If someone demands your coat, offer your shirt also. Give to anyone who asks, and when things are taken away from you, don't try to get them back. Do to others as you would like them to do to you. If you love only those who love you, why should you get credit for that? Even sinners love those who love them. And if you do good only to those who do good to you, why should you get credit? Even sinners do that much. And if you lend money only to those who can repay you, why should you get credit? Even sinners will lend to other sinners for a full return. Love your enemies, do good to them, lend to them without expecting to be repaid. Then your reward from heaven will be very great, and you will truly be acting as children of the Most High, for he is kind to those who are unthankful and wicked. You must be compassionate, just as your Father is compassionate. Do not judge others, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn others, or it will all come back against you. Forgive others, and you will be forgiven. Give, and you will receive. Your gift will return to you in full, pressed down, shaken together, to make room for more, running over, and poured into your lap. The amount you give will determine the amount you get back. Then Jesus gave the following illustration. Can one blind person lead another? Won't they both fall into a ditch? Students are not greater than their teacher, but the student who is fully trained will become like the teacher. And why worry about a speck in your friend's eye when you have a log in your own? How can you think of saying, friend, let me help you get rid of that speck in your eye when you can't see past the log in your own eye? Hypocrite, first get rid of the log in your own eye, then you will see well enough to deal with the speck in your friend's eye. A good tree can't produce bad fruit, and a bad tree can't produce good fruit. A tree is identified by its fruit. Figs are never gathered from thorn bushes, and grapes are not picked from bramble bushes. A good person produces good things from the treasury of a good heart, and an evil person produces evil things from the treasury of an evil heart. What you say flows from what is in your heart. So why do you keep calling me Lord, 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 when you don't do what I say? I will show you what it's like when someone comes to me, listens to my teaching, and then follows it. It is like a person building a house who digs deep and lays the foundation on solid rock. When the floodwaters rise and break against that house, it stands firm because it is well built. But anyone who hears and doesn't obey is like a person who builds a house right on the ground without a foundation. When the floods sweep down against that house, it will collapse into a heap of ruins. And that is Luke chapter 6. There are two parts I want to hit on because I think these are just fascinating. So the whole thing about the Sabbath, they're kind of getting to the Pharisees. That's the they. The Pharisees are trying to get to Jesus and his people. And what's fascinating, what I saw here, there's a guy with a withered hand and wants to be healed by Jesus. And Jesus knows it says Jesus knows their thoughts. And he tells him, come stand in front of everyone. And so he says that he has a question for you, but really it looks like what? Two questions. First question number one is, does the law permit good deeds on the Sabbath, or is it a day for doing evil? That's right here in verse 9. We're going to highlight for y'all. There we go. Bing, bing, boom. Does the law permit good deeds on the Sabbath, or is it a day for doing evil? So when you think of the Sabbath and everything it requires, does, is necessary for all those things. You have to ask yourself, what is the purpose of the Sabbath? Right? What is the purpose? Everybody knows the Sabbath is for rest and for worship. Are there other things the Sabbath has? And so he's asking, does the law permit good deeds on the Sabbath, or is this a day for doing evil? So there's one question. And if they're going to answer, they don't answer. They have to answer by saying it's a day, or the law will permit someone to do good deeds on the Sabbath. They're not going to say, no, it's a day for doing evil deeds on the Sabbath. That's not going to happen. And then he has a second question. The second question, or this kind of gets wrapped up into it, is this a day to save life or to destroy it? And a question I would ask in a Bible study is this idea around, what does it mean to save life? Is this a salvation save life, meaning like there's an eternal life? Which could have a double meaning. Is this a day to save life, to restore a potential neighbor so that their life can be prosperous? Like it's the good neighbor kind of attitude. Like if your neighbor comes to you, needs a ride to work, do you give them a ride to work? Is that to save life? So it kind of has a double meaning there. And then they don't answer. And here's what's funny when you really think about it. So for the healings, there's a bunch of moments where Jesus like physically touches a person and they get healed. And then there's times where like people will touch Jesus and they're healed. Like the woman who's has like just this constant bleeding. And she's like, if I can just touch the hem of his garment. I made a Facebook post like, if my bank account could just touch the hem of his garment. And what's interesting, and what's to me would be crazy, like if I saw this in person, like I get it, like I'm a Jesus hater, and I'm like, ooh, I hate this man. He's going around destroying our stuff, and he's touching people and healing people. He doesn't touch the guy. Verse 10, he looked around at them one by one and then said to the man, hold out your hand. So the man held out his hand and it was restored. Never touches the dude. If I'm there, if I'm a Pharisee and I see this, I'm like, yo, we're not messing with this guy. That's what I'm saying. Like this guy, like Jesus literally, not figuratively, he literally doesn't do anything. He just tells the guy to hold out his hand and boom, guy's restored. Like that's a whole other level of restoring. Like he's doesn't even touch the guy. But their response, unfortunately, the enemies of Jesus were wild with rage. It's nuts, man. But thanks for hanging out with us today on episode 55, maybe, of Luke 6 here with the Bible Department Podcast. I'm Matt with So Cincy. Please, if you're here on YouTube, subscribe. Help us get to 100 subscribers. And if you're following along on the replay on Facebook, on YouTube, or not YouTube, Facebook, well, you can watch replay on YouTube, but Facebook, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever this goes out. We really appreciate you guys for listening in and tuning in as I ramble and kind of get my thoughts about the books of the Bible and stuff like that. So again, I'm Matt with So Cincy. We'll see you later.